What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here from Ocean Bound. I've been waiting patiently to make this video, and the time is finally here. I wanted to show you all this wing race that we did on Nantucket for Nantucket Race Week. So I've raced out on Nantucket before, and this is the first time that they've had a winging class, and so we had to be part of it. And so for those of you who don't know, Nantucket's an island about 30 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, necessitating a trip on a boat or an airplane to get there. I used to live there. I worked at a Cisco brewery, best summers of my life. That place is awesome. All right, so our friend Rick invited Eric and I over to crash for the race. It was still and foggy in the morning as we kind of packed all of our stuff onto Rick's boat. The destination was Bass Point on Coatue. We were rolling with Patrick, one of Rick's friends, who's a board shaper out there, and I just feel like we were a solid crew of four. It's always cool to show up with a posse. So it was a little after noon when we started to head over, just boat packed with gear. The forecast looked like, there was something that was like kind of rolling through that would possibly like kickstart the wind a little bit as it approached. And we were hoping that the races would, be able to take place when the wind was up, at whatever the highest it was going to be in the afternoon. So we get to Coatue and we unpack enough gear for literally 8 people. Patrick brought a tent. Tents are a pro move. I was pretty impressed. People are arriving on, various boats. Everyone's kind of setting up their stuff. We checked in with the committee boat. We got instructions and a race map. We had the race meeting. And at this point, the wind had kind of picked up a little bit, and the thumbs up were given for us to get out in the water, and we had to get ready to race for the next like 15 or 20 minutes. And in that race meeting, the director said no carnage. It was just going to be a fun day. I love that. I thought that was awesome.
All right, here we go.
So we get out in the water. My gear, I had a 7-meter Ventis, my 75-liter FG board. It's just a safe board. And I went out on my 725. I just wanted to go fast. So we were taxiing around the start. There's this kind of big cloud band like starting to loom over us. And we saw, you could see a couple lightning bolts in the distance, but it was kind of hard to tell how far away it was. But it did become apparent that the weather was heading straight towards us. So we got the word the race was getting put on hold and we were supposed to get off the water, wait it out. So we get to shore, we hang out, we wait. It's an inconvenience, but the people are in a good mood. Everyone's talking shop, telling stories. The incoming clouds were weird, to say the least, but the lightning was still almost like in our peripheral, and it started to sprinkle. So as the clouds and the lightning got closer, it started to rain. And we were sheltering on like the backside of a dune. There are no trees or shelter nearby out on Coatue, and the wind just started to get weird and shifty. We kind of watched, like some of the wings and the kites were like shifting around a little, and there was a lot of us that were just like kind of on the edges of our seats, like, do we have to secure that or is it gonna be okay? At one point, I ran to secure a wing or two that it seemed like that they were blowing in the wind, and it just started to rain hard. These guys improvised and huddled under a kite for shelter. So down the beach, I'm at my board and my wing. I'm wondering if I should deflate it. I'm wondering how the tent that we have is still standing. Lightning's starting to come down, and then it just started like legit hailing. And they're rather large chunks of hail that you could easily like feel through your wetsuit. I was calling it pain rain, but then I realized it was actually hail. And check this out, I was starting a hail collection on my wing. So a couple of us were hiding under our wings or kites, and the wind did like a total 360. That's when stuff just started to get wild. We were all kind of running around trying to save what we could save. Wings were flipping. The tent we bought did end up flipping over, which is kind of hilarious. That we thought it was a good idea to tie the wings to it. So now there was this like spiky thing that seemed like a bad idea to have wings around it, but they were still tied to it and the wind was swirling around like crazy. At this point, the D-Labs were still without holes. Dude, that was so close with the Ventis. Deflate that thing. So the boats on the water were being blown in all different directions. We were running around trying to secure stuff, deflate things that wanted to be airborne. At one point, I remember seeing close to the tip of Bass Point, a kite at least 40 feet in the air, upside down, like his front lines must have been stuck to something like on the ground, and it was just a trip to see that thing like floating in the lightning. It was surreal to kind of see all that, and then faster than it came on, it kind of got sunny. It was still raining, but getting sunny, and people were like emerging, you know, and checking everything out, and there was just carnage all over the beach. We had to push boats back off the sandbar that had been beached with the changing winds. We had multiple wings, including 2 D-Labs that had tent poles that went through them. It was crazy, but it was exciting, you know. No one got hit by lightning, thank God. And just like that, the call was made to get back out in the water, so in like 10 or 15 minutes, we're all back out there. You know, I think at least 3, maybe 4 wings had holes in them, so racers were on their B wings. So all in all, we kind of ended up doing 4 races. Here's the map. You know, we start in the middle of the course, tacking up around the buoy, and then ripping downwind to another buoy, and then kind of crossing the same line in the middle again where we started. There are 2 guys from Martha's Vineyard. One happens to have set multiple world speed records on a kiteboard. They swept the whole entire thing. The highlights. All right, so the first race, you know, had a pretty epic start. Eric got taken out. Another racer decided to go against the grain and start, you know, the opposite tack of everyone else. So he didn't really notice the whole pack was like moving through the start, and he just came straight through. And somehow I missed this because I was a little late, but here's a nice picture that the photographer got. It's hilarious. I mean, you know, thank God everyone was okay. I was on a 925 for that race, and I was doing fine. I was a pretty solid 3rd behind the Martha's Vineyard dudes for most of the race, but a random fall put me in 4th. After this race, I decided to kind of rock it in and see if I could change out my 925 for my 725. I'm not gonna compete with dudes with D-Labs and Mike Labs and race boards while I'm on my 925. So the second race, either the wind shifted slightly or we just got smarter about it, and you could almost make the first upwind buoy. I say almost because at least one of the Martha's Vineyard dudes did it, and I was so close. I was like 3 feet away. My foil would have hit the line. So I, you know, get back up on the board. I remember ripping downwind then on that 725, and it was whistling louder than I'd like ever heard it before. So that one was cool. The third race, I remember I swung wide after the downwind buoy, and I had like a faster line to the finish, but Rick was slightly ahead of me, but pointing higher upwind, kind of going slow. I was catching him, and just like that, I randomly dragged my wingtip, and it was over. You know, maybe it was an accident, or maybe it was a thank you for letting us crash at his house. Rick deserved it. The fourth race is fine. The D-Lab, Mike's Lab dudes were able to, you know, take the upwind buoy on the starting tack, and everyone else had to do a couple turns to get there, so they obviously just won way ahead. I can just say, you know, the 7 meter and the 725 were great for going downwind. I mean, they were just great for racing in general. There was no pumping needed. My foil was screaming. The Ventis was awesome. Even though I had the biggest wing out there, it handled so well and cranked up wind. I never felt like overpowered, mostly because my foil was super fast, and overall I was just so stoked at my choices. You know, the only mistake I made was having that 925 in the first race. The reason why I did that is because I thought the wind was going to come down. I just didn't want to get stuck out there not getting up on foil. So the races were great, but man, it was just such a crazy day. We had a blast. I'm so happy we went. They sent me this cool cup for getting 3rd place overall in the winging. I'm just super stoked on that. I proudly slammed seltzers in it while I edited my videos, and that's all I got. So if you want to see some more of my videos, please consider clicking that subscribe button, drop a comment, let me know what the weather's been like in your area, and with all that, I hope you guys are doing well out there. I'll see you soon on the flip, and wish you all an awesome day. Later! It's hard hydration. 4.9% alcohol. Well drinkable. Welcome to the game. All right.